You ever start a new game and the first thing it does is throw a long ass tutorial that just keeps on going forever? Like hold forward to walk, get in the grass for stealth, use stones to distract enemies. Now use all of this to save that random NPC. Or you're trying to solve a simple puzzle which basically a 5-year-old can solve blindfolded while also solving a Rubik's Cube, while also being upside down, but the companion NPCs of the game just can't stop giving you hints.
Brother, you think freezing it would work?
You can reach the wheel from here? They capped those guys. I think we need to get that wheel moving. There's gotta be another chain we can pull up there.
Please shut up! Please, can you please shut up? Handholding in video games is a really interesting and a complicated concept. When done right, it can actually do wonders, and when done wrong, it can literally give you a nightmare. For every Dark Souls game that lets you figure out all the things by yourself, like which class to choose, which armor to wear, or which weapon to use, or even where to go, on the opposite side, we also have the typical Ubisoft games that treats you like a little child. See that marker? Go there. Follow this guy. Explore all of these points of interests. And also buy the season pass $39.99 only. Thank you very much. Over the years, there's been multiple debates on whether there should be any form of handholding in video games or not, or at least to what extent this should actually hold your hands. Because on one side, we have people who literally can't withstand any form of handholding, and anytime they see yellow paint in the game, they go, why is there yellow paint in this game? Unplayable, 0 out of 10, worst game of the year, would not recommend it, FR, no cap, believe it, datte bio. And on the other side, we have some scenarios where even literally telling them exactly what to do in written text, they still can't do it. I mean, how hard is it to jump and move forward? Oh my god! Now I get it, a game literally takes millions of dollars and a shitload of time to develop. So developers naturally wouldn't want the players to have a hard time getting into their games, and that's why they had so many helpful hints and guides throughout the game to help the players. But sometimes they go a bit too overboard, which kinda ruins the whole experience. And that is what we are gonna talk about in this video. Handholding in video games. How much we need it, how much we don't need it, do we really need it? Did she ever need me? So first of all, what is handholding? Holding hands is a form of physical intimacy involving 2 or more people. It may or may not be romantic. Couples often hold hands while walking together outdoors. But that's the wrong handholding. In video games, handholding refers to when a game provides excessive guidance or assistance to the player, often in the form of tutorials, prompts, or hints to make it easier for the player to progress. Or to put it simply, when the game gives you little instructions to go there, talk to that guy, climb that yellow colored stone, or press F to pay respect, then that is known as handholding, because it's like the game is literally holding your hand and telling you exactly what to do. When we talk about games with very little handholding, most people usually talk about the FromSoftware games. Dark Souls 1, for example, doesn't hold your hand. There's no fast travel for the first half of the game. Heck, there's not even an actual map. Yet still, I remember where everything is and how to get there, which in itself is a crazy video game design. The game doesn't tell you what to do or where to go or even what the story is. You have to figure all of that out by yourself. The game literally gives you a broken weapon and sets you loose, like go do your thing. And people love it. I mean, look at that. You're doing so much damage. That's a lot of damage. See? Fun! You see, you're not actually supposed to fight this boss. You see, what you're supposed to do is not kill the boss, but rather you run past the boss and see. You see that door that's hidden behind him in the corner, behind those pots and stuff. That door. You have to go through that door, and then get a better weapon, and then you come up to this top area of this level, and then you jump on top of the boss. Then you do damage. Yeah, that's how you deal damage. See? Fun! But the game doesn't tell you that. You have to figure this out by yourself. It's a common pattern in almost every FromSoftware game. In Elden Ring, the first actual boss that you fight is the Tree Sentinel. but it is way overpowered compared to your level, so it will naturally beat the shit out of you. What you are actually supposed to do is not kill it, but rather run past it, explore the area, get some better gear, upgrade your weapons, and then you fight the boss. But the game will never tell you that. You have to figure that out by yourself. You have to try multiple times, you have to die multiple times, and then you probably will figure it out. Or be like me, who would spend like hours trying to defeat a boss whom you are clearly not supposed to until you actually do so. And then it is way more rewarding because you managed to defeat a boss that you were not supposed to just by being a stubborn idiot. You get the point. The game will never tell you that. You have to figure that out yourself. And on the opposite side of the spectrum, we have games like GTA 5 or Red Dead Redemption 2. These games are extremely specific on what you exactly have to do. Follow your companions at a specific pace, don't let them go too far, talk to that NPC, go to this exact YOLO spot. And if you do anything that you are not supposed to do, then the mission just fails. You went out of the area? Nope, you can't do that. You didn't go to that exact spot in that exact amount of time? Guess what? Mission failed. You didn't stick to that one NPC the whole time? Guess what? No, seriously, guess. You guessed it right, mission failed. You see, this is what I'm talking about. These games are extremely specific on what they want. But don't worry, we have your progress saved. You can just continue from the last checkpoint. Failing a mission too many times? Don't worry, you can just skip the mission. We have the option, this banger option, to just skip this hard mission. The mission is too hard for you, you don't like this, you can skip it. You can just press the button and we'll skip this mission for you. Just don't stop playing our games. I know it's hard. Don't worry about it. Just skip this. Nobody has to know. Hey, nobody has to know. I'm not telling anyone. I won't tell anyone. Just skip it. Don't stop playing. These games would literally treat you like a toddler who has never played any games in their life before. And after a while, it feels like you're just following instructions instead of actually enjoying the freaking game. Now, don't get me wrong, I feel like a little hand-holding is somewhat necessary. The game needs to teach you the very basics so that it doesn't get too much annoying trying to figure out everything by yourself. Like, for example, I love what Bethesda game does with their games, or at least they used to do. We don't talk about this one. I also talked about this in my Skyrim video, which a total of 69 people watched. Can you believe that? 69 people watched this video. Thank you very much for your support. You guys are absolute legends. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the support. In this video, I talked about how Skyrim handles its tutorials and stuff. From the very opening of the game, it tries to give you bits and pieces of the information about its world, its political situations, and teaches you all the basic stuff like melee combat, magic combat, and equipping items and stuff. It basically teaches you all the necessary things within the first 15 to 20 minutes, so that from this point onwards, you can just go wherever you want and do whatever you want. It doesn't hold your hand anymore. From this point onward, you can just literally skip the whole main quest line and pick a random direction and just start walking, and you will end up finding a lot of cool stuff that will keep you entertained. And this is what I love about these games. And they followed the same Skyrim formula in Fallout 4 as well. Once you get out of the vault, you are basically free to go wherever and do whatever. And this is what I used to love about the old Bethesda games. You could just boot up the game and start playing. You don't need to remember where you left off the last time or what the story was. You could just start playing from wherever you left off probably a year ago, or just start a new run and play at your own pace. No need to follow the main quest line, just explore and chill. I miss the old days. Persona 5 on the other hand has the longest tutorial that I have ever played in any game. Even after the 40-hour mark, the game would still teach you something new. But even after that, it never feels annoying, or not at least on your first playthrough, because if you're replaying this game, and it's also one of those games that literally needs a shitload of tutorials. There's just so many things going on in this game. There are so many things to understand. There are so many confidants, upgrading your stats, managing your time, going to school, taking classes, there are exams, there are castles to explore in limited time, there are mementos, and then there are personas. Oh my god, the personas. There's just so much to do. Combining personas, making new personas, making them stronger, and then collecting all of them. There's just way too much to do. And that's why in this game, tutorials are kinda necessary. The game is not teaching me press X to jump, it's actually teaching me to ace my school exams in the morning and fight shadow monsters at night, while also try to date a local doctor who uses me as a guinea pig to test her experimental drugs. That's not just a tutorial, that's a whole life lesson there. And there were times when I felt restricted because Morgana won't let me go outside even though I'm clearly not tired, but still it never felt as if the game was forcing me to go somewhere or do something that I didn't want to do. I had the freedom to choose where I wanted to spend my time and how I wanted to spend my time, if that makes any sense. But in my opinion, good handholding is something where it's not straight up in your face. It should be something that helps you and guides you, but without you even knowing it. Like it's there, it's hiding somewhere in the corners. You cannot exactly see it, but you can feel it. For example, in Half-Life 2, the game uses the show don't tell approach. Every time you're stuck somewhere in this game, the answer is basically always right in front of you, but you have to figure it out by yourself. Loot boxes in Half-Life 2 doesn't have any YOLO paint, but they look a bit different than the other boxes, which helps you realize which boxes has loot in them. Rather than telling you where to exactly go, the game uses environment to guide you. Like for example, in dark areas, it uses light sources to tell you where to go. Anytime you are about to fight some new type of enemy, the game first shows you how that enemy attacks by creating scripted situations. Like the first time you fight this enemy, the game first shows you how it attacks, so you know where to look for them. Then later on in another scripted scene where you move these barrels to move forward, and here you see that these enemies also pick up those barrels, which means you can also use explosive barrels to defeat these enemies. But the game doesn't directly tell you that. You are the one figuring it out, and that's why when you do figure it out, it feels really rewarding. It's like solving a math problem by myself without asking the teacher for any kind of help. Except the problem was not that hard to begin with. But when I solved it by myself, it felt pretty good. Another example of this would be the game Portal. In every room, the game gives you a general idea about the puzzles, on what to expect, like where to go, where the exit is, and how do you basically solve it. It gives you a basic visual on what you're supposed to do, but it never tells you what you exactly need to do. The game just slightly guides you in the right direction, but in the end, it's you who's gonna solve the puzzle and find the actual path. The hand-holding is very subtle. This is how hand-holding should be, like it tells me what to do without actually telling me what to do. PlayStation games are also known for their hand-holding. Like, can we talk about Attribution for a second? Nice kid, really helpful in combat, but that boy needs to chill. It's like he's trying to prove he's smarter than me, and honestly, he probably is. He can read a lot of languages, so he probably is smarter than me. But that's beside the point. I am supposed to be one playing this game. This puzzle is made for me to solve. Let me solve this puzzle. If you keep telling me what to do and what the answer is, then it's not a puzzle now, is it? Let me try a few times, let me mess up, let me take 20 minutes to figure out the puzzle, then Google it out of pure shame. That's the actual real gamer experience. Spider-Man. Great game, love swinging around, decent story, but the map of this game is filled with all the repetitive combat trials and challenges and all the collectibles. The game doesn't want me to miss out on anything, so it already tells me what I'm gonna find and where I'm gonna find it. There was a time when I used to despise all of this. I had seen this type of game design so many times that I got exhausted by this type of map design and level design. But I also get it on why developers exactly make games this way. I sometimes play video games with my dad. He's a pretty casual player. He mostly plays games on normal and easy difficulty, and his favorite games are God of War 2018, God of War 2022, the Ragnarok edition, and The Last of Us. The typical dad games. When he's playing any non-linear open world or semi-open world games, he needs a compass marker to guide him to the right direction. And I always need to sit beside my dad telling him which weapon to use on what enemies and which armor to upgrade. Because the truth is, my dad doesn't care about the stats and all those small details or which armor goes with which weapons. He's just there to beat some enemies, enjoy the story, and just have a few hours of quality time. And I am there to spend some fun and quality time with my dad. And this is a perspective that I feel like not a lot of people understands. video games are played by a huge variety of people from all age groups. Some people have issues navigating inside a video game world, some people have vision issues, and some people have hearing issues. And that's why I feel like hand-holding in video games is also somewhat necessary. Nowadays, we also see developers adding a lot of accessibility features in their games so that it would make the game more accessible to an even wider audience. Like when Hogwarts Legacy got released, a lot of people were complaining about how simple that game was and how there was so much hand-holding. Like just getting a little off track starts a countdown as if a bomb is about to go off, and its map also had that Ubisoft salt sprinkled all over it. But you need to understand that this was a game that was played by a lot of players who have probably never played any other games of this type before. You know, there are so many Harry Potter fans who probably have never played any open world RPG games before or are just very casual gamers, but they still played this game because it's based on the Harry Potter universe, and the developers had to design the game in a way that it was accessible for a wider audience so that even people who never played any RPG before would still be able to play and enjoy it. And that's why it looks this way and there's so much hand-holding. And because of this type of game design, now we have a divided player base, where on one side we have people who are genuinely happy to enjoy these games because they are easy to play and navigate, and then on the other side we have people who are angry because the game is constantly annoying them with these instructions and taking away their freedom. Now the one solution that I could think of for this problem is just to give a toggle in the game. You know, like just ask the player, do you want a lot of hand holding and hints and directions and stuff? Then turn it on. Do you want a blind experience? Then turn it off. Shadow of the Tomb Raider already has an option like that, which lets you turn off all the hints and stuff in the puzzle. And I feel like more games should add this type of system. But the thing is, it also complicates the development process because now developers need to design the game both ways, where even without the hints, player could finish the game, which means more time, more work, and more money, which isn't something everyone would do. As I said earlier in this video, hand-holding is a complicated concept and there's just not any exact solution. It all comes down to how developers choose to balance these elements, keeping different player preferences in mind. And ultimately, in most cases, developers would always choose to make the game more accessible for a wider audience, rather than making it in a specific way for a specific group of gamers.